If you watch this video right here, or if you watch this video right here, then you have to watch this video today, because former Indiana Sheriff Jamey Noel has been charged with 15 felonies. 15! And you know which private citizen was 2 years ahead of that prosecutor? This guy right here. So I sat down with him for the third time to break down the charges and all the information that has been released since the arrest. But that's not all. Christmas is coming early this year because I'm also going to be doing a live Q&A at 4 p.m. Central Time today to talk about this arrest with you guys. So stay tuned to this video and then make sure you join us at 4 p.m. today. At some point during this, I'm going to say something like, hold on, buddy, and I'm going to go get a cup of coffee.
Hey, that sounds like really good to me. I was actually going to ask you if it'd be okay if I made a little run.
Yeah. All right, Chris Ryder, you are leading the charge, at least on YouTube, against former Sheriff Jamey Noel and his crazy, alleged criminal scheme. It's been a wild, 10 days? When did he get arrested?
Yeah, that's been about 10 days ago at this point.
Yeah.
When he got arrested, but it's been going on for a lot longer than that.
Well, yeah, I know. But the arrest is a really big deal, right?
Really big deal.
I think probably most people watching us talk know that law enforcement is not going to arrest you unless the prosecutor believes that they have the evidence already together that would convince a jury beyond a reasonable doubt that you're guilty, which means they tend to do as much investigating as they need to feel like they're getting the W if they go to trial. And so that's why, for someone like you, you've been working on this for months, right?
Years.
Yeah. When was the first time roughly that you thought, man, something doesn't seem right?
Well, I knew something wasn't right. It would have been 2019, at the end of the year 2019. We were trying to get records. We were the victims of a botched home raid, and it was by that agency. So we started digging to get our own records from the event. And that's when we realized that things weren't being done right at that agency. So that's when we started sort of digging a little bit to find out what was going on.
We got to jump into it. Tell us what's happened. Where's Jamey Noel right now?
Well, Jamey Noel is out on a pretty hefty bond right now.
Do you know how much?
$75,000 cash.
Yep. The probable cause affidavit has a list of 24 vehicles that are inconsistent with ownership by a not-for-profit fire department and EMS business. Are you familiar with that?
Very. There's a Vet, there's a Porsche, there's Mercedes-Benz, there's...
Now, assuming that what you understand to be true proves to be true, with whose money did Noel purchase these vehicles?
Well, I think the vehicle thing is a lot more on the lines of laundering, in my opinion, the way it looks to me. But tax money is where all the stuff is coming from. So there's been tax money that's been being pulled that shouldn't have been, and then spent on personal things that shouldn't be. I think they were utilizing the inconsistencies in the purchasing and trading and doing all that with the cars to sort of do some money laundering and hide a few transactions.
For viewers who aren't familiar with it, the idea of money laundering is that you have some ill-gotten money, stolen, grifted, taken from the government, whatever, and you need to sanitize it, which is where the word laundering comes in. You need to clean it. And the way you clean it is you go to an existing business or you start a business, and then you pretend that the money that you stole is customer money coming into that business so that it becomes the profits of that business. I would love to hear your explanation for how the purchase of the vehicles could help launder the money, because to me, you need that money to be as liquid as possible, like on deposit with a bank for it to be successfully laundered.
Yeah, I'm going to try to explain this without giving away too much, because the investigation is still ongoing. Now, they're still waiting on some audit documentation and stuff like that. But the way I can best put this is you always have to remember is that there's two sides to all of this. Yes, they've got Jamey arrested right now, and they're charging him with vehicle theft. but there's another person that was involved, another party or entity that was involved in that transaction.
Well, naturally, this is a giant scheme, right? This is going to, you just can't get this done with fewer than 4 or 5 people at a minimum. And I'm not suggesting that's what the number is. I'm saying,
right,
you cannot do it with less than that. So,
right,
of course, it could be way, way bigger than that. So let me ask you, do you have any evidence that there are people who were participating in the fraud, alleged fraud? Can you just put the word alleged on the screen every time I say it so I can just quit saying alleged? Yeah, I'm no longer going to call it an alleged fraud. My producer will make sure that it is just an alleged fraud. The fraud who have flipped on him and who are cooperating.
There are a lot of people flipping. That's basically how I believe that the police that are doing the investigation are ensuring that their probable cause is solid enough to take to court. I think what they've been doing is they knew what was happening. They had proof, and they've been going and hammering down on people that were involved, making them give more information and sign their name to it behind the scenes, and then they're taking it to the next level.
This is what the cops said under oath, sworn, okay, to a judge. On August 31st, 2022, Jamey Noel took a Utica-owned Kubota HST tractor purchased in 2017 for $40,600, and he sold it to James Bishop for $31,000. And then on September 14th, which is 2 weeks later, he deposited the check for $31,000 in his personal bank account.
You got to remember there's 15 charges here that have been affected. Some of those I had no clue of. Like some of the exchanges and things I didn't even know about. So, but many of them I did, right? So, and you just happened to pick one that I didn't know about. I had no idea about the tractor until the same day everybody else when I was in the courtroom. But it's a repetitive action that you're seeing here, in that a purchase is made of some sort of a vehicle in the Utica's township's name, which Jamey has political positions all over the area. Utica is just a small town just outside of the city of Jeffersonville, inside of Clark County, and he happens to live there too. But he runs the fire department, which was a conflict of interest in the first place. I won't be surprised if a bunch of conflict of interest charges end up coming out of this. But he runs the fire department and the EMS. The fire department is based in the city of Utica, or the township of Utica. Yeah. So it looks like what the state police are really hammering down on this is the purchases that he had made for vehicles and tractors and things of that nature in the fire department or under the city of Utica's name or the township of Utica's name. And then the way I'm saying laundering is he would trade that item or sell that item and then deposit the money from the sale or the trade into his own personal account. Therefore, the money doesn't look like it came directly from taking one of those items.
Yeah, I mean, that's just straight up theft from the city. If the $40,600 that the city spent to purchase the tractor was city money.
I call it laundering because I don't think that Jamey personally was ever interested in the Porsche or the Corvette or the tractor. I think Jamey was interested in the money. So I think the way he was able to put X amount of money into his own bank account was to use the city to purchase the thing to make it look like they might have needed it, which is still a little questionable, because who's going to believe that the township of Utica for the fire department would ever need a Corvette?
Utica's a small town.
Tiny town.
How many people live in Utica? 931 people?
Yeah.
931 people, less than 1,000 people.
Utica's tiny. Yeah.
Can the sheriff just roll around Utica in a S-Class Mercedes without raising eyebrows?
That one can around here. People, they've been getting away with this stuff for so long. They're almost famous for it. like literally famous for it in some senses, because these are the same cast that was on Live PD when it first started around here, and then we had Jamey is the author of the TV show 60 Days In. So the same exact people that you've been watching on television are the ones rolling around in these expensive cars wearing these suits.
But is it possible that the notoriety he had from his side hustles, the TV shows and the media stuff, was cover for him having extra money?
Well, it just depends on a person's perspective, because if you understand the law behind that, you would know that they are not allowed to accept money for having a television show while they're on duty. So like you couldn't use your position as the sheriff to film yourself on duty doing the things that you're already paid by taxes to do and then get paid for doing it. You can't do that. You got to choose one or the other.
Could the city do the contract with the TV show or the police department so that the money goes into the police department in the same way that, like, in my hometown, they sell ads that go on the back of the cop cars?
Yeah, I have no idea about that. But I know that they made a pretty big fuss to make sure that people believed that there was no money coming in other than just some donations in the end. They alleged that they did all these years of television programming in the Clark County Jail. In the outcome of it financially was nothing more than a camera system that they left behind.
Let me back up and say, when law enforcement is corrupt, it is very hard on the legal system, from enforcement all the way through conviction, because in order to get the system to work properly, you have to get people who are outside of that network, and not only actually outside it, but also apparently outside it. Like, they need to look like they're clean, not just be clean. So like, you could have someone on Jamey's staff arrest him, but like no one would believe that it was real, because he would, you'd just assume that he's gonna make a deal with him. The Indiana State Police is outside of the Jefferson County Sheriff's purview. They have oversight if they're doing something illegal, right?
Okay, so Clark County is what I think you might have meant.
Clark County. Wow.
Yeah, Jeffersonville's the city that the main city of the whole place.
So the process,
we have
quick to say that early on, I guess as soon as the ISP figured out there was something, where there's smoke, there's fire, they went to the Indiana Supreme Court, who appointed a special judge to, I want to say, oversee the investigation. Now, to be clear, judges don't oversee investigations. They act as a check and balance on the authority of law enforcement to conduct the extent of the investigation that they would like to conduct. Because just because law enforcement wants certain evidence or wants access, they can't have it unless they go to a judge who can agree that there's probable cause. What's fascinating is that they said early on the judges could be in on this in Clark County, or they could look like they're in on it.
Right.
So the Supreme Court appoints a special judge, which candidly, they appoint special judges all the time. Like, even like in a small county, if a lawyer is going to get divorced, all the judges are going to recuse because they know him. And so they'll bring in a retired judge, appoint him as a special judge for this one thing. But that's what the Supreme Court did in Indiana. This is totally secret. Like, no one knows that this is happening. This is done on the down low. And then that judge appointed a prosecutor, which is, I'm going to have a hard time saying Hurtel's first name correctly.
Yeah, he's from, I just brain farted on the county he's from, but.
Is he from Ripley County?
Ripley. Yeah, he's from Ripley County. Totally outside of our.
Rear Hurtel?
Yeah, I met him the day of the hearing, Jamey's arraignment hearing.
Oh, you met him?
Yeah. I'm on top of all this stuff. I want to ensure that they got all the information that's available.
Okay.
These are outsiders, Let me sort of back up and address what you were sort of going through there on that last paragraph, if you don't mind. So it's hard to explain. Jamey is the Republican Party chair for the state. I think he's like the 9th district chair for the Republican Party in the state of Indiana.
Is or was?
I think is. Yeah. And he's buddies with Mike Pence, right? Now, I don't know if that really matters right now, but they go and have dinner at each other's houses. And then you've got a load of judges and lawyers that are all in that same buddy system. And they're posted all over Facebook, hanging out with each other. And I'm not talking about doing business and then taking a quick photo when you get done with your business. I'm talking about these guys are literally going and attending these events together and, doing personal things like hanging out at each other's homes and stuff like that. So,
which I don't have a problem with.
No, me neither. I don't have a problem with it. But when you get into separating the legal system so that they can take legal action against one of the actors, you got to reach well farther than just right here in Clark County. You can't just grab a Clark County judge and just grab the Post 45, which is the local ISP in the state police agency. You got to get away from this area to get people that are in no way involved. And my hat's off to the law enforcement and the judicial system that finally put all this together this way, because they really did get far enough out. Now, the judge that's currently on Noel's case is from Washington County, which is not very far away. But I have not found any ties between that judge and Jamey and his group. So I think they did find an impartial judge, which is great.
Yeah. It would be pretty crazy if they found a judge that was outside the system but was still connected with him somehow, because the whole point was to find someone not connected to him. I know you know this, but what happened to him after they arrested him? They arrested him in Clark County, right? Where did they take him?
They brought him into the same jail that he has exploited all over television doing 60 Days In, the Clark County Detention Center.
They moved him to Scott.
They moved him.
Right?
Yeah, they moved him to a neighboring county called Scott, which I'm actually good friends with the sheriff. I wouldn't say good friends. We're close as far as business relationship goes. I believe that Mr. Gooden is a very good sheriff, a very constitutional sheriff, but it was his jail that they moved Jamey to within a very short period of time. And I'm sure it was probably for his own safety, you know?
So like you don't want to have anyone who's associated with law enforcement in a specific jurisdiction incarcerated or detained with people that they may have locked up. It's just not, that is a bad situation. That's a little bit of a powder keg. Should we break now for some coffee?
A few moments later.
Okay, so one of the things that I found most fascinating about the probable cause affidavit was in the conclusion paragraph. He says, I anticipate providing the prosecutor with additional information and potential additional charges when the State Board of Accounts and the Indiana Department of Revenue complete their audits and investigations.
Right.
Just so you know, this guy, Lieutenant Jeff Huron, is never, ever going to say that to a judge unless he's 99.9% sure that there's more charges coming down the pike.
Yeah, they have it, or that's how they operate. You know, when they publicize these statements, it means they've already got it figured out. Now, that doesn't work the same for people like me, ordinary citizens who are not in any kind of a government capacity, or even attorneys are better protected than the civilians. You know, no offense, but
well, I mean, we make the rules. Yeah, you would hope that we'd be looking out for ourselves.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I think the challenge is a little deeper when they're trying to put an attorney on the line, but when it comes to investigating a government official or anyone involved in the government, they're going to be a lot more careful about how they approach it.
They can't afford to mess it up.
Right.
Yeah. What's your understanding of what's next in his criminal case?
There's a couple avenues I anticipate. One of which I'll I'll take the second one. I'll take the biggest one for me second. I think what's going to come back is going to be, the results of these audits. And I do have some intel that allegedly the car dealership has also been raided at some point throughout all this.
Okay.
And I believe, it wasn't like a police coming in with guns, physical raid, but they were looking into the receipts and sales, the electronic files of the vehicles purchases that were being made. And that person, his name's John Jones. He's also, I think he has 4 badges from 4 different counties where he's a reserve officer for 4 counties at the same time.
Yeah, he's a supplier of vehicles to those counties. I think you told me in previous conversations.
Yeah, and not only that, but he was also on the redevelopment authority board for the region. So there's some stuff going on that he's being questioned on, and I think that a lot of those accounts that they're looking into is probably going to be the relationship there. And I don't want to say too much more because I don't know where they're at with it, and I don't want to hinder anything. But perhaps the most exciting thing to me is the one that I was really pressuring the police to take up is the ghost employment. You remember how much we talked about ghost employment the last time we talked?
I mean, that's free money right there. If you can pull that off, you're just taking it from the taxpayers, and that's free money.
I see that, but I'm more interested in the damages that can cause. And that's why I was reporting it. Because, just like my channel name would suggest, I am for public safety. Yeah, and also
of an understaffed jail.
That was my issue. The jail was so severely understaffed. And it turns out that I was right for the reasoning, because if you look on that probable cause, you'll see where all the staff that is noted in that probable cause were all jail employees, supposed to be jail employees. That was my issue, was that Jamey was taking people from the jail where their bodies are very much needed in the jail, and then working them elsewhere. And that was how I think I asked you in our last segment if that would suffice to the law of ghost employment, or the definition of ghost employment meant, instead of pretending that there's an employee that doesn't exist, I was asking you, would it also be ghost employment if you actually had an employee that was supposed to be in this place but wasn't there, was actually working somewhere else? That's what I was talking about. What you might not be able to read, I don't think they put this in the probable cause, but it's in some of the former investigative material that was released to the public. I think I read that Jamey had 133 cars. Don't spit your coffee out.
Yeah.
133 cars.
Hubry estimated that he knew of about 100 cars.
And it's more than that. I mean, I think the count was somewhere in the neighborhood of 133.
Depending on what you're buying, you're talking about between $5 and $7 million right there.
Easy. Yeah. And some of these cars, the majority of these cars were just, it was a car collection. These were really nice cars.
Yeah. Escalades and Hellcats and Camaros and Corvettes and a lot of Cadillacs,
Jeeps, and
What does this arrest change for you and your channel and what you're doing?
Well, I think it's kind of like, I think the word is, what is the word? Is it vindication? Sort of, it's sort of, this whole thing sort of approves that we were not wrong the whole time. Because we've been saying this is coming. We've at least been screaming from the rooftops that we believe this is happening and it needs to be investigated properly and charges need to be filed, and this isn't all we've reported. I mean, there's other things that I firmly believe that I'm 100% correct about, that I really would like to see these agencies take up and handle, because my avenue this whole time, I'm also looking out for people's tax money getting blown inappropriately. But more so, my concern is people's safety. And there are a lot of stuff that has been going on that I'm certain, and I've been publishing it on my channel, that people's safety is in jeopardy. And if you don't take charges against some people and make a point, then, it's going to continue. So that's really what my channel has been about when it comes to more specifically this agency, but it's actually kind of a regional thing that I've been sort of trying to tackle with my channel.
Well, I'm just so impressed that you got on this so early, that you've stayed on it despite, I would say, like, great personal cost. And I don't want to get into that if you don't want to get into it, but like, this is something that you've really committed yourself to. And now the state of Indiana is backing you up. And ultimately, of course, it'll be up to a jury to decide if or how much of any of this happened, or at least it could be, although honestly, this is not the kind of case that goes to trial. Assuming that they have the evidence, which it appears that they have, and they will get more. This is the type of case which generally gets pled out.
Yeah. I foresee more arrests coming soon.
Yeah.
Is what I think. I think that this was a way for them to get the people that are involved on the hot chair. Like what you're seeing coming now is going to be the people that were little less apt to just tell, right? Like, because they had no problem getting information out of the current sheriff now, which was, I mean, he's Scotty Maples, the current sheriff now for Clark County. He is Jamey's protege. Like he was an implant by Jamey. There's nothing that Jamey was doing that Scotty wasn't fully well aware and even involved with all these years. I mean, he was the assistant chief.
Yeah.
During the time of all the stuff that you see these charges coming from, it's not like he didn't at very least sit back and let it happen. When the investigators came in with charges and they all knew that was coming, Scotty did tell them what he knew or some of what he knew.
Yeah. Now, in Scotty's defense, his version of it is that he went to the ISP first. I don't know if that's true. And
I know it's not true.
I don't know if that's true either.
I know it's not true. I had my girlfriend and I, her channel's Official Misconduct on YouTube. Her name's Tiffany. My girlfriend and I, I'm sorry?
I said link in the description. Y'all get down there and check it out.
There you go, down there. So we had filed a Department of Justice report on the agency. And in that, it came with, we were one of the lucky ones that our report got accepted and investigated. So we know for a fact that there were investigators on behalf of that investigation already there asking questions, hard questions.
Scotty came into office.
They were at Scotty Maples, the Clark County Sheriff Department, asking questions about crimes. And it was after that Scotty allegedly reached out.
As I said at the opening of this video, we're posting this video at 2 p.m. Central on Friday, August 17th. I'm going to do a live Q&A on this channel at 4 p.m. Central the day that this video comes out. So if you're watching this before 4 o'clock, come on over to the live and join me. You can ask me questions. I'll do everything I can to answer them. But Chris, I want to know, is there a way that you can make it to the live and participate in the chat with us?
I will do my absolute best. The only way I won't be there is if I'm out doing a recording or in jail because I've been doing a recording.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is Chris Ryder. It is a pleasure to have you on the channel. I guarantee you it's not going to be the last time, and I'd love to come over on your channel and talk shop sometimes. I mean, Indiana seems like such a pleasant place when you visit it, but I guess under the surface, there's some crazy stuff going on.
Still a great state. I mean, I would say to anyone, if you're going to travel and you want to swing through, you're going to be perfectly safe. Just know who these players are and try to steer clear of the certain ones.
And if you see a 2022 red Corvette Stingray, it could be a cop.
Make the call. It could be a stolen car too, right?
Hopefully you can join us in the live Q&A tomorrow, and we'll see you then. Take care, buddy.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, guys, that was it for the conversation with Chris Ryder from the channel For Public Safety. Now, this arrest is the culmination of a long investigation that Chris has been covering from the jump. So go check out his videos on his channel. And don't forget, if you have any questions or comments, or you just want to give me your input, you can join right back here today on my live at 4 p.m.
Central Time. I'm America's Attorney. I will see you very, very soon.
Like and subscribe.